Christians are assimilating to a culture of busyness, hurry, and overload, which leads to, number 2, God becoming more marginalized in Christians' lives, which leads to, number 3, a deteriorating relationship with God, which leads to, number 4, Christians becoming even more vulnerable to adopting secular assumptions about how to live, which leads to, number 5, more conformity to a culture of busyness, hurry, and overload. And then the cycle begins again. This is a guy who studies. Why do Christians not grow in their faith? He says, we're too busy. We're too hurried. We're too overloaded. John Ortberg, he's a pastor and author. He writes this: "For many of us, the great danger is not that we will renounce our faith. It is that we will become so distracted and rushed and preoccupied that we will settle for a mediocre version of it. We will just skim our lives instead of actually living them." And then Ronald Rolheiser, he's a Catholic theologian and philosopher. He writes this, and this is maybe the money quote of this entire book. I just think this is fantastic. Look at this. He says, "We, for every kind of reason, good and bad, are distracting ourselves into spiritual oblivion." Just let that sit in your heart for a second. All the things, good and bad, are distracting us into spiritual oblivion. It's not that we have anything against God or depth or spirit. We would like these. It's just that we are habitually too preoccupied to have any of these show up on our radar screens. We're more busy than bad, more distracted than non-spiritual, and more interested in the movie theater, the sports stadium, and the shopping mall and the fantasy life they produce in us than we are in church. Or as Caleb Schultz likes to say it to his wife, "My training is in releasing people from the grip of Satan. But I feel like most of the time I'm just trying to release people from the grip of distraction." You feeling this? You feeling this culture that we live in? I'm convinced the biggest problem in the Christian church, and therefore the world, is that we are too distracted. I mean, think about any of the problems that go on in our society, even in our churches. Why do they happen? Well, because people don't notice them. If we would notice them, we would solve them, but we don't notice them because we're distracted. Even sometimes so distracted that we just completely neglect the problems or outsource those problems to other people who solve them their way, which may not be in line with our values. And then we get angry at them, even though it was our problem in the first place. We're so distracted, we're so preoccupied, we're so hurried, we're so rushed that the problems that we have, we don't even have the time to solve. We don't have the mental space to solve them because we're on to the next thing.